Today we're going to be taking a first look at a microphone from a company called Fifine. Now, I historically have never really looked at microphones here on the channel before, but it is something that's largely important to what it is we do here, since I need a good quality microphone, not just for my voice, but for doing all the typing tests when we do all of these keyboard builds here. And the folks over at Fifine had a microphone they were offering to send over that actually seemed like it might be appealing for aspiring content creators out there and folks looking to get a plug-and-play solution going that doesn't really cost an arm and a leg. So without further ado, we're just going to go right on ahead and jump into taking this thing out of the box and talking about it a little bit more. Now, I know the spelling up here says Fifine, but I am told this is pronounced fine, as in two fines right in a row without any spacing between them. This is their AM8 streaming recording microphone for gaming, podcasting, video creation, and voiceover. Whew. Now, it is worth noting this does have two methods of connectivity here. We've got a USB-C connector as well as XLR connectivity, so if you have a more involved mixer setup already and this microphone is still doing what you need it to do, you can integrate it into XLR connection-based setups. That's kind of nice. It allows this to grow with you. Now, this is a dynamic microphone. That's going to be an important thing to remember because we're going to be comparing it to my existing microphone, which is a condenser microphone. They function a little bit differently from one another. This also has tap to mute on board. It looks like there's a port for monitoring your audio levels, and you've also got your mic gain control as well as your headphone volume control for the monitoring that you'll be doing. Last, and in my humble opinion certainly least, is RGB integration on this. How much that matters to you is largely dependent on how in view the microphone's going to be for your particular setup. So let's get this opened up. We are greeted with a user's guide. Pretty straightforward stuff here. Just goes over a bunch of the basics on how to control things like the RGB lighting and what the different surface buttons do, and generically speaking, sort of how to get this connected and up and running on a Windows-based machine. We've also got some specs listed here. We'll go ahead and throw those up on the screen for any of the tech nerds that need to see those specs. Moving on, we have what looks to be the stand. We have our USB-C to USB-A cable. And last but certainly not least is the microphone itself. And there's nothing else underneath that foam, so we can go ahead and move that box out of the way. In hand, build quality honestly seems fine. There's nothing really offensive going on here. Nothing sounds like it's excessively rattly, although I do admittedly hear something shaking about. Not sure if it's this mounting arm or not. And it does look as though this cover is removable, so the pop filter can be taken off to reveal the microphone underneath. Again, this is a dynamic mic as opposed to the condenser microphone that I've been using on this channel for some time now. Also, playing around with this just now, I realized there's a bit of a creaking noise coming from the hinge on this arm. I'm hoping that's not a sign of bad things to come. And on the back here, it looks like we've got our XLR connection as well as our USB-C and our headphone monitor connection as well. Now, it looks like the mute function is just tap to touch. It's not like an actual physical button, so there's not going to be necessarily any haptic feedback there. So yeah, we'll be right back. I'm going to get this set up. We'll do some typing sound tests and some talking tests, and then we'll go ahead and finish out the video through this microphone so we can get a better overall impression of what this thing sounds like. Before we get into the tests, a bit about the test conditions. First off, while this mic was sent to us by Fifine, this will not influence my opinions here in any way, and no money changed hands to acquire the product. The toner condenser mic requires an external power source to amplify it, so for those tests we're running the toner mic through its power source, then straight into the mic input jack on our B550 Gaming Edge Wi-Fi motherboard. The AM8, only requiring USB connectivity, is being tested through a USB 3 Type A port at the front of my PC case. The surface-mounted gain knob for the AM8 was set to max, while there are no such adjustments for the toner mic. There is, however, a -5 dB adjustment in OBS. Each mic was set approximately 1 foot from my mouth while testing speech, and approximately 6 inches from the home row of the keyboard for typing tests. My Ixtech boom arm is mounted on the outer edge of my desk with cardboard and foam padding on either side of the clamp to isolate as much desk vibration as possible. All recordings were done through OBS. All right, continuity error time. I got a haircut between takes and I swapped hoodies. Now, clearly in the keyboard typing test, the dynamic mic wasn't really doing us a lot of favors being sat directly on the desk. We lost a lot of clarity on those alphas because of that angle that the mic was sitting at. But while both mics were on the boom arm, they were kind of a wash between each other, although I would have to admittedly give the slight edge to the condenser mic for being just the slightest bit more clear in terms of what the board actually sounds like. So for dedicated typing tests, if I have the pick and that's the only thing the mic's getting used for, I would pick the condenser. But what about voice recording stuff? This one was honestly kind of a wash for me, and right now you probably would be hard pressed to tell that I am currently talking through the AM8 microphone that Fifine sent over as opposed to the condenser mic. In fact, the test conditions recording was also done using the Fifine microphone. But we want to consider some quality of life and setup features when we're talking about how these microphones sound. The condenser mic has that phantom power supply that's required in order to amplify that signal, then send it over to my computer to process. The AM8 doesn't require that, so the setup on the AM8 is automatically going to be a little bit easier. On top of that, because the condenser mic is a significantly more sensitive device, I actually have to turn down the gain by about 5 decibels in OBS to achieve similar peak results as the AM8 here, whereas the AM8, I just plugged it in and played. I didn't have to adjust gain at all. So the long and short of this whole excursion from keyboards is that while either of these mics would be a solid pickup for your audio setup, I would imagine the vast majority of users would pick the Fifine AM8 first due to the ease of setup and the reduced sensitivity, making it easier to just sort of set up and go. Also, because of the XLR connectivity, you can transition this mic to a more advanced audio setup in the future if you really want to min-max your audio setup when funds allow for it. That kind of flexibility in a product this inexpensive is really nice to see. For me, the Fifine AM8 is a great choice for gamers and aspiring content creators looking for good overall voice and component audio quality, ease of setup, and convenient surface-mounted features and connectivity that let the mic grow with your needs. Really, the only thing I felt like they need to improve upon with this microphone is the build quality to correct some of that creaking that we're hearing in the yoke that holds up the mic, but otherwise, there's really nothing to complain with about this product. This is absolutely a great setup for anyone getting started in content creation or just want something a little bit better for your voice while you're gaming. But sound off in the comments below. Let me know what you're using and what you thought about the Fifine AM8. Again, links for everything in today's video are going to be down in the video's description. Make sure you're following us on all of our social media platforms for more content, and make sure you're following us on Twitch. We stream Sunday and Wednesday. Times are typically announced on my socials. And if you made it this far into the video, you're the real goats. Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember to toss a thumbs up on the video on the way out if you liked what you saw. Make sure you're subscribed and notified so you don't miss any of our videos when they go live here. And maybe check out some of these other voice and audio sensitive videos for your viewing pleasure next. Take care.